Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
All right, welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast on the GSMC Podcast Network. It is Ethan and Brice here once again. Me, myself, and Mr. Brice Lewis coming in off the top rope. We've had football back for a solid week, college and NFL. What is going on, Brice? We got a lot to go over, but let me just say, Sunday was so needed, my guy. Like, when I tell you the world just has not felt the same until Sunday. Something felt normal for once. The NFL went off basically without a hitch, right? I didn't have any issues. Of course, the fans were kind of weird, or the no fans, I should say, lack of fans were kind of weird. But all in all, football was greatly missed, and it felt good to have it back.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's definitely great to have it back. It's definitely great to see the great sport we love, man. And I guess if everything, continues the way it is and the test numbers remain low, looks like we're going to get a full 16-game slate.
Absolutely. Hopefully that is for the best that it comes out. So first, we wanted to start off by talking about some big takeaways from Sunday's slot of games. And honestly, I think the biggest takeaway off the top of my head, we have to talk about really just how everything kind of went off without a hitch. It just felt like a regular Sunday. Honestly, I didn't notice too much about the lack of crowd, too much. Now, when I watched Saturday's games of college football, it was kind of noticeable. And the thing that saved it for me basically was the marching bands and the unnecessary crowd noise wasn't as harsh in college football than it was in the NFL because of the marching band and people playing live instrumentation throughout the games. It helped still keep that immersion. But other than that, I think the NFL had a really good product out on the field on Sunday. And I think that is the biggest thing, was seeing how the product on the field would look like. And I think that this is something definitely they can build off of. Now, granted, I will say that whoever is the organist or the keyboardist or whoever is the one manning the actual sounds, they got to do a better job of doing it on time, because sometimes they just let the crowd noise keep going and you think that, oh, there's a flag or something, right? Like they keep it's showing reactions as if there was a flag thrown. And I was on edge throughout that whole Saints game thinking that a flag was thrown because, flags and the Saints don't always mix and we don't see eye to eye with the referees. But I was always on edge, like, oh, is there a flag on this play? Like, it'll be a big gain. I'm like, oh, the crowd noise is still pumping in. Might be a flag, but there was no flag. And I guess they kind of dropped the ball on that, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is something that, is noticeable. I mean, I think the highest they had, the crowd decibel, I think they all agreed on was 75. Do you know if I'm correct? I think it was 75. I'm not
actually too sure about that. I didn't hear about that. I'm sure, you guys, as in the Falcons, you guys should know firsthand, should have real world experience with crowd noise. So
I'm dead. I don't know if you're ready for my takeaway on the Falcons yet.
Listen, if that's one of your big takeaways, take it away. Go ahead.
Well, actually, before I get to that, I want to talk about my guy, my man, Mitchell Trubisky.
Oh, Lord. Wasn't that your hot take for the year about Mitchell Trubisky being okay?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, cause I said he would be better than expected. Actually, I think I just said he was going to start. Actually, I don't think it was anything crazy. I don't think I talked about his season performance. But But yeah, Big Mitch, man, threw 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Yes, sir. He came back with the Lions.
Man.
He said, I'm not finished yet, Ethan. I'm not finished yet. And he came in there, he balled out in the quarter that mean the most, and that's all that matters. And he got the dub. So
this
for another week,
this has Tim Tebow syndrome written all over it. Here we go again.
Hold on, Tebow couldn't throw. Okay?
Neither can Mitchell Trubisky. Okay, let's calm ourselves down for 1 second. Literally, if DeAndre Swift catches the ball, the narrative is not what we're saying right now. I know that's for sure.
Well, we are going to say Mitchell played bad because he still threw those 3 touchdowns. It's just going to be like, oh, at least they showed some fight. At least he played well in the fourth. We'll just be like, oh, at least he tried. At least he did good. But since they won, obviously, it's even a bigger deal. Obviously, I hope we'll see what happens. Obviously, a lot of people are kind of not sure where to slight the Bears this year, but it's a good opening day win, man. Good opening day win. So I just want to get that first before I got to my Falcons take.
Listen, man. Go ahead.
Oh, you can say what you're going to say before I get into it.
I was going to say that if the Bears want to go ahead and squander their chances of getting Trevor Lawrence, be my guest. Let somebody else go get Trevor Lawrence, and they lose out on another generational quarterback potentially. Again.
Oh, boy. Oh, okay, I got you. But yeah, so I got to get to my Falcons take. Obviously, my Falcons lost this weekend in a very should have been a hard fought matchup. All I got to really say, man, is just honestly, coming into the season, I wasn't necessarily excited for the Falcons season. I was just kind of like, we'll see what happens. I hope they're good.
That doesn't sound too good, my boy.
I mean, really, honestly, all the Falcon fans were. It's like, we have Dan Quinn damage me. Like, I mean, I can't get excited. Like, it's just like, okay. And then we see what happened. First half was fine. It was 14-12. Like, it's like, okay, competitive. All right. And then the second half was just like, yep, this isn't working. Secondary wise, we gonna have some issues. We couldn't cover DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. Russell Wilson had his day with the defense honestly, our defensive line didn't play bad. We got pressure on Russell.
I was going to say, a lot of people are sitting here saying that you guys' defense looked horrendous, and I don't think that's the case. I think that
it was the secondary.
Yeah, I think secondary, it was kind of hard. Their defensive line, like Grady Jarrett looked great. I think
Fowler got some pressure.
Yeah, of course. So, players who are good at pass rush, coincidentally are good at pass rush. Shout out to Vic Beasley.
Hey, he played tonight. I think he played tonight now. So don't look out.
Listen, I think that would be your worst nightmare as a Falcons fan, to see Vic Beasley be useful somewhere else. I think that would seal the deal for me if I was a anti Dan Quinn guy. If somehow somebody else was able to fix Vic Beasley, then that's when I know it's time to let that guy walk up out of there.
Yeah. But honestly, man, I just feel like it's kind of like, okay. I mean, another takeaway I took is like, offensively, we still can have a great offense. We have 3 receivers go over 100 yards. So Calvin Ridley looking like he definitely is going to get big payday whenever his contract's up. He's still scoring touchdowns. I think he tied Julio for the most touchdowns in the fewest games in their first 3 years, I believe. So obviously he's going to be great. Julio was still Julio. Russell Gage, a guy that a lot of people don't know about, he played really well. The guy that we were expecting to break out this year, he had a great game. And, we lost and we got to do better. Honestly, I think we should open up the offense a little bit more than we did. I think we can be effective and use Todd Gurley in different ways. And basically, we go against some boys next week, and they're the 2 fan bases that are one of them going to be 0-2. Falcons, we won't be in shambles. We'll just be like, all right, can you fire me out?
Oh, gosh. Brice is already calling for Dan Quinn's head. All right.
You know what's funny? And before I let you do your take, I saw a tweet that said, and I didn't agree with this, but it was kind of interesting somebody said that. They were like, Arthur Blank is a great man. He does a lot of great things for the city. He's a great person, but he's not fit to make football decisions. And I was just like, okay, I mean, listen, we may not agree with, the Dan Quinn thing, but I wouldn't say he's not fit to make football decisions or anything like that.
He definitely is a loyal man. He definitely believes in loyalty to certain people, though. You have to admit, right?
Yeah. I mean, because you can make an argument he let Mike Smith maybe stay too long. You can make an argument. Obviously, you can make a very good argument that he let Dan Quinn stay too long. And so there's definitely some things that we went well, but there's definitely things we can improve on. And it's just like we have the talent. It's just the consistency, and that's the biggest issue.
No, yeah, for sure. I'd have to say, first and foremost, I think Todd looked decent in his first out as a Falcon. I thought that was one of the bigger takeaways was seeing who, like the new faces on different teams. I thought Todd in the passing game looked really nice comparative to his run game. I don't know if he just needs to get more reps in and the offensive line needs to get more reps in, but the passing game with Todd Gurley looked okay. I think Seattle's a really fast defense, and that's kind of been their MO for a while since, even after Dan Quinn left, they've kind of kept that ideology of being fast and physical and being able to get out there in space and go, east-west with these speedsters out there in the backfield. And I thought, Todd Gurley doesn't look like the Todd Gurley of 2018, but he definitely, he looked better than what a lot of people considered him, the arthritis thing last year. I thought he got off to a good start. It was nice to see him being able to get up there and get a touchdown. And also my Julio take I had on my fantasy show. This is good week one for me as far as the hot takes go for Julio. I did a bad one. Right now the Carson Wentz one is kind of lacking, but hopefully that gets better. But I said Julio was going to make his last push to be the greatest wide receiver in the league, and he definitely made his case be known first week. Unfortunately for you and the Falcons, that did not come coupled with a win, but Julio definitely let his will be known. And I had a tweet on Sunday about Jamal Adams, man. I don't think the Seattle Seahawks gave up enough because Jamal Adams is a problem. I'm so afraid of him personally. I wish the Saints somehow found a way to just build up the assets to just be like, yeah, if we're going all in, that should be the guy we should go all in for, because Jesus Christ, he was the first half Jamal Adams he had was incredible.
Oh yeah, he was flying all over the ball. I don't know if you caught that shot he took at I believe
wasn't it Russell Gage?
No, he took a shot at the Jets after the game.
Oh, you meant as in verbally. Oh, got you.
Yeah, because remember what the DC of the Jets said, Greg Williams, he said he'd be bored. And Jamal Adams was like, well, I wasn't bored out there, so I love it. I love it. I mean, the Jets are in shambles, but that may be another discussion for another day.
Yeah. I think now more than ever, we're starting to see that the reason why Le'Veon was so sad and so kind of hurt was that he left them there with the Jets.
and now Le'Veon's hurt again. It's just like, oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of trade implications going on here coming out of the northern states. And the Jets are privy to that. I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone somewhere else soon. I just don't know who's going to trade for him and for what reasons. But I think Le'Veon's on his way out sooner rather than later. Odell, if there was a prop bet for how long it's going to take for Odell to get traded, I'm giving it 5 games. 5 games before Odell gets out of there. If you watched Odell play on Sunday, he looks good. Odell looks about as good as he's ever looked. Physically being able to get away from defenders. It's just, it's hard for me to say this. I don't think Baker Mayfield is a good quarterback. Yeah.
And that's why I said this is a make or break year. If he struggles, he's out of there. Because this is a new regime, and they're like, I don't think we can keep him.
Listen,
there's no justified reason to keep him.
With Trevor Lawrence around the corner, with Sir Fields, Mr. Justin Fields around the corner, I don't know how long they're going to keep looking at this Baker Mayfield project and thinking that, this is the way. Granted, Stefanski's game plan, the run game, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt look good for the most part. Like, there are pieces that are there. Now, I don't know just how much we have to attribute a 38-6 game to just being COVID riddled and people not being mentally prepared or whatever the case may be. But if any team in the league was going to get thrashed, you didn't think it would be, Cleveland. Again, 6 points, all these weapons. I think that's the biggest thing to me. If you're going to get into a barn burner or you're going to let somebody score 38 on you, you got to at least put up 24, man. 6 points? 6 points? 6 points, Brice.
It looked bad, man. And honestly, man, I think Baker Mayfield has an identity crisis. I feel like he wants to be Russell Wilson and them so bad, or Kyler Murray, and I'm just like, sir, that's not who you are.
Listen, man, I think we have to start thinking about just what these products from Oklahoma actually are. And maybe they're just products of a system.
Outside of Kyler Murray.
Yeah, of course. But we're going to take our first break, and then coming back, we are going to continue on this football discussion. We're going to get into some hot seat stuff coming up, GSMC.
Listen up, sports bettors. This is Brice and Ethan here to tell you about our favorite sports book, and that's BetUS. Football, basketball, and baseball are all back, and that means it's time to get down your bets. We only endorse one sports book, and that is BetUS.com. Why, you ask? BetUS is the pioneer in online betting with more than 25 years in the biz. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity, and you need to know that you're going to get paid.
That's right, Brice. You need a sports book that offers everything, including live betting, MMA, golf, horses, esports, entertainment, and all kinds of crazy prop bets and futures. So call today at 1-800-MY-BET-US. That's 1-800-MY-BET-US, and they will walk you through getting started. Nobody in the industry gives better bonuses or bigger bonuses than BetUS. Join now, mention GSMC, and you get up to 150% in bonuses on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. We bet at BetUS, and so should you. So join BetUS today. That's BetUS.com, or call 1-800-MY-BET-US, mention GSMC, and get 150% in bonuses on your first deposit.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMCpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, we're back. GSMC Football Podcast. We are about to embark on something that's a little bit hot, a little bit temperature gaugey. We're getting to the hot seat round table, man. We got some guys, some quarterbacks, some coaches, any sort of hot seat that you want to put on, they're there. I'm going to go ahead and get started because I think it's fair to go ahead and put this out in the open. I think the first coach fired on the list has to be Adam Gase. If he does not pick up a win in the first 5 games, I think Adam Gase is out of there. I think he has to resign, or he has to figure something else out. But coaching the Jets, I think this is the last go. And for many reasons, the Jets are in a they're in a situation where they don't have majority of their best players due to opt-outs and injuries. They traded away their best player they've had in years, essentially. And because he didn't want to be there, they had Le'Veon. They got in a coach that didn't want Le'Veon. And for all intents and purposes, he has not put Le'Veon in situations to win. Their offensive line has been problematic for years. And honestly, Adam Gase as a culture guy for a coach has not looked good in national media or in, their market. Adam Gase has been a bit of a head scratcher for quite some time. And if he doesn't put together something, it is going to look bad. And it's almost to the point where you forget that, people actually have some faith in Sam Darnold and what they possibly could bring. And Denzel Sims, is that his name? The rookie? I think the wide receiver. I think he's still hurt personally, but I think Adam Gase is definitely first round. If there was a draft, he's the first pick overall for hot take or for hot seat getting out of there. What do you think, Brice? Before I can continue on for my own.
I agree with that. I didn't really see it in Miami. He only had one good year after that. He would get rid of all the best players because he doesn't want to deal with personalities. Gets to the Jets, gets rid of their best players, brings in a player that he's never gotten along with star players. A lot of star players have spoken out I don't really like him. Jamal Adams mentioned it when he left. He's like, I don't think he's one of the reasons why I want to leave is I don't like the head coach. I don't think he's the right man for the job. And I just think that, I think he needs to be, he needs to restart. He needs to go back to just being a normal coach, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, whatever. I think he'll be good at that. I just don't think he should be running a team.
Fair enough. Honestly, I just don't know what they get out of there. There's definitely some coaching vacancy stuff, and there's some guys out there that's potentially they can go get. I don't know if it's from the college ranks, but I think that a lot of people were very, very surprised that the 49ers defensive coordinator didn't get a look at a coaching job, and he might be the guy there next year. I would think he's one of the more premier coaching options around, and he's probably going to get a look. Another hot seat. We got to talk about this, man. I know we just got off the Falcons, and I don't want to sit here and bag your team after a loss because I honestly don't think your team is as bad as it displayed last week. And partly because when your coach decides to go for it 4 times on 4th down and goes 0 for 4, you would think that they would figure something out, right? What compels you to go go for it on 4th down and continue to do it in situations that didn't? So the first 2, he didn't have to do it. I understand if you want to set a tone, right? But it felt so un-Dan Quinn to do it. It did not feel very, this is Dan Quinn's DNA. This is his MO to go for it on 4th down on your own 45, essentially.
Man. Don't get me started. Especially the fake punt.
Yeah, that too. What's happening here? So, right, we have coaches in the league who like to get risky, who like to gamble and do big things. And then we have coaches who want to go with the analytics route and say that, going for it on 4th down, more teams should do it and that it will make us look smarter if it works. And we'll just take the losses if it doesn't. But typically that's maybe once or twice a game, right? 4 times and all 4 were failures. Not good, man. It's not, that doesn't look good as a head coach. I don't care what the outcome is. 0 and 4 on 4th down, that's execution. And the first thing they're going to look at is say, your execution as a, head coaching, you didn't get the call done. You didn't do the right thing no matter what happened, right? It doesn't matter if it was a tipped pick, if it was, the defense was just ready for whatever you had. If you're going for it on 4th down, you need a play that you can guarantee, you feel 80% confident that you'll pick up the needed yardage. And for the most part, they didn't have it.
Yeah, it was just a frustrating performance. Some play calling wasn't good. The thing about the 4th down things is for me, it's a typical situation. If he makes them, we're saying he's this amazing coach, aggressive, but since he failed on 4, in crucial and in non-crucial situations, it's just this is some Dan Quinn. It just makes you just be I'm tired. Honestly, I'm just so tired. I don't know if I want to do this anymore. you just It's just like everybody says, man, pain. That's all it feels like when it makes these calls. It's just like, we shouldn't have even been in that position. We shouldn't have been down 3 scores. We should have been in a much better position. Like, listen, the only one that you maybe can say, okay, was it the worst decision in the world, was maybe the punt, because he got the first down, he just fumbled. Because like I said, if he got it, we wouldn't have criticized. But at the same time, it was still a risk that you're taking it on our side of the field. And it was just like, did we really have to do that? I mean, but the thing I also think to myself is like, maybe he saw how Russell was torching the secondary and it was just like, if I don't go for it, we're going to lose by even more. So maybe that's what his thinking was. Because some coaches will think like that. Like, listen, we're not playing well defensively. I don't know if I want to send my defense right back out there and see if like we can stop the next drive. But it was tough, man. It was tough for sure.
I mean,
like that.
I guess the other flip side is if you think your secondary isn't going to get it done, putting them in short yardage situations is not going to help them out per se, right?
Yeah, it's not going to help them out at all.
Yeah, I just don't. And then like getting your defense you're not helping your defense at all by giving them short yardage in any long run. You're just kind of betting the fact that you believe your offense is better than their defense. And from honestly the first snap, you can tell their defense looked rejuvenated. They looked ready to go, having Bobby Wagner back and then getting new acquisitions across the defense was something that definitely bode well for them. It didn't look like they missed Jadeveon Clowney that much. And even though honestly their offensive line for the Falcons looked pretty good, they didn't offer a lot of pressures. And Matt Ryan didn't get sacked too often. So, I don't know. I think both teams saw some things that they liked, and the Falcons definitely have a lot that they can improve on defensively. But I think coupling what happened last season in the beginning, I said it when the season ended about how everything kind of went downhill. I think that, or how everything kind of went back to maybe Dan Quinn is just a player's coach and they want him, and that's just what's going to be. I don't think that's the case. I think Dan Quinn's on a short leash and he needed to come out with a strong case for himself to stay there. And I don't even know even if he did have a strong case, he may still be gone at the end of the season and he needed some sort of resume booster for a next job. But, he can't lose too many more games in this first stint of the NFL season.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. But I want to get one hot take in there, and a hot take for me, or on a hot seat for me. I honestly think, man, that Jimmy Garoppolo might be on the hot seat.
I think, after they paid him.
Yes, because if you watch, like a lot of people didn't watch the game because it wasn't on everybody's television unless you're on the West Coast. But I was watching the game, and I don't think Kyle Shanahan trusts Jimmy G. And so when you're in a position like that where you don't feel like your guy can get the job done, I feel like you start to kind of look like, yeah, he's our guy, but I'm not afraid to look in a different direction if needed, if that makes sense. Like, if something is presented, he may not hesitate to, okay, I think we can find someone better. It's the same thing with Gruden with Carr. It was kind of like, well, yeah, I got Carr, but unless I can find somebody better than Carr, I'll make the move. But if not, I'll stick with him. That's kind of how I feel what's happening with Jimmy G, because I just felt like the way they played, it felt very conservative. Even when, the Cardinals took the lead, like Jimmy G made some good throws, but it's just, I don't feel that trust there. And so I feel like that could potentially put him on the hot seat. Because listen, the 49ers have ammunition if they need to make any moves. I'm not saying they're going to do anything crazy like trade up to the top 5 for a quarterback, even though that might be possible, but there's going to be some quarterbacks I think available next year that they might look at. And so if Jimmy G continues to kind of not play up to the level of his contract, you might potentially see them potentially move on, because he already is facing a lot of pressure from fans in the outside about his play. Now, if the 49ers have maybe a down year and he doesn't play up to par, you might see Jimmy G potentially on the trade market by the end of the year.
That's a pretty solid hot seat decision. I think he's definitely not in, he's not in cold waters. He's not chilling right now. And the fact that there's a pass in that game where he tried to throw a little bit of a swing route to George Kittle, and George Kittle kind of banged up his ankle. Same play. It's not a good look. It was a bad pass, put him in an awkward position. And even though he came down with it, it kind of did put him in no man's land. And that's something that is not a good look for any quarterback to do. I think one quick one and then one that just came to me personally. I think a good one to look at is Matt Patricia for the Lions. Matt Patricia, since taking over the Lions, has not had basically a winning season, and it's not looked good. And this is a team that let go of Jim Caldwell after going 9-7. And since then, they have not been really relevant any stretch of the means. Granted, Matthew Stafford hasn't been fully healthy all this time, and they're without their best receiver on Sunday's loss to the Bears. But you really shouldn't be losing a game that you were up 21-0, right?
Yeah,
in leading going into the fourth quarter.
Cursed. That team's cursed.
I don't know, man.
Which franchise is worse, man? Cleveland or Detroit?
I don't know. I'd feel like Detroit, because you've had some good players and some quality teams that just have kind of been squandered in so many different shapes and forms. But I don't even know the last time Detroit has touched the playoffs. I think the last time I saw them was when the Saints played them and took care of business in like 2013 or something like that.
I think so.
So it's been a while since Detroit has been playoff relevant for sure. But I don't know. I think Matt Patricia definitely has to be in consideration. And real quick, who just came across my mind, I think that we got to start thinking about one team in particular in the Eagles, right? What's the very likelihood that Doug Peterson actually starts looking like it's his way out of there? And unfair or not, he did win a Super Bowl with them. So that kind of gives you a cushion for how long a team will, sit there and deal with the droughts of, sustained success. But Doug Peterson really, since the Super Bowl, what has he really accomplished? Now, granted, Wentz has not been healthy for most of his career since the Super Bowl run. And even when healthy, it's been really up and down. And yesterday was another legit Jekyll and Hyde performance for Wentz. And maybe they think that they need to get somebody else in there that can unlock Carson Wentz again.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Yeah, potentially. The Eagles honestly just keep having injury issues also. I think they're down 3 or 4 offensive linemen, so I'm not surprised that Washington got 8 sacks. But if you actually look at Washington's defensive line, they actually have probably one of the best defensive lines in all of the NFL. A lot of people don't think that because it's Washington, but if you actually look at the names of who they got, you'll see why Carson Wentz was under pressure all day.
And they've had a good front seven last year too. A lot of people slept on that, and adding Chase Young has only made it even better. And he was a monster in his first game.
Yeah, so we'll have to see. I don't personally think he would be on the hot seat just because, I mean, they have made it to the playoffs again, like every year since then. So it's not like he's had like that year that's just like, oh yeah, we got to get him out of there. Unless it's like a thing where you're just kind of like, oh, we're hitting a certain ceiling every year and we might need to change it up to break that ceiling, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But then again, we've seen coaches get fired for less. So I don't know.
That's true.
We're going to take another break, and then coming back out, we are going to continue on our football week 1 conquest, and we're going to talk about some overreactions, and we'll be right back. GSMC. All right, Brice, we have a new segment here, overreaction time. Do you have any immediate overreactions after seeing week 1's performance by majority of the football league? And if so, why do you feel the way you do? And, try to justify your opinions here or there, but any solid overreactions towards week 1? Because I think I have a few.
Well, I mean, I think that we don't need to overreact to the way Tampa Bay played against your Saints. Obviously, I know you're extremely happy. But I don't think we need to overreact to that. I think it's an overreaction that maybe potentially that Tom Brady's washed. I think, yesterday's game was just a product of, the Saints have been together. Basically the offense is basically the same except Emmanuel Sanders, primarily. Am I right? Like, it's basically the same. So y'all
from a year
know
ago, I guess, Malcolm Jenkins is also new and rookie.
Yeah, but not too many changes, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So, the team pretty much is closely knit. They know each other, what they like to do. Sean Payton, Drew Brees, the whole 9 yards, right? So that's why I feel like that would work very well for you guys. Like, think about Tampa Bay. You have a new QB who has never played outside of the system he played in New England, learning a new offense under Bruce Arians. And listen, people don't talk about this. I don't think Tampa Bay's offensive lines are the best in the world, so Brady might be under pressure. But I think they're going to stabilize because obviously I think offensive line play could, in some games, you could see suffered potentially from not getting enough practice because obviously that involves a lot of reps, I think, for offensive linemen. But I think that Tampa Bay is going to get themselves back on track. They have a plenty of talent. I think they're going to definitely be in the race at the end of the year. I think that's something that I truly believe. And I don't think we need to overreact to their week 1 performance because honestly, I could sit here and make an argument. If this was a normal NFL season and they opened up in the loud dome that y'all have, I could have said they would have been blown out by more, in my opinion, because it just has that, it feels like Saint games. They always have those vibes where y'all can easily blow out a team when you're at home. But yeah, so to me, it's just like, I don't think we need to overreact. I think they're going to bounce back. And I think they're going to get themselves back on track. And I think that's, just don't overreact, especially since it's week 1. You don't want to overreact to things.
I see. Well, I'm going to have to zag on that one, my friend, because I am going to overreact. I think Tom is washed. And I think that the national media has been eating up all this Tampa Bay and this Tampa Brady, all this stuff just to see Tom Brady being the same Tom Brady we saw at the tail end of last season, who could not get some air underneath the ball, made bad decisions with the football, made some errant throws, and all in all looked like a 43-year-old quarterback. Not to say, like, let's keep this in, like, in the realm of realism right here, right? Drew Brees also looked like a 40-something-year-old quarterback. They both look pretty old out there. Not a lot of mobility going on. Drew Brees did have a 47-yard pass, which was promising to see because everybody says his arm strength has left the building years ago. And maybe what he did in the offseason did work. But I got to say, I'm not here for all this. It's just the beginning of the season. They got to work it out. Of course, they have to work it out. Everybody had to. The Saints offensively did not look that great on Sunday, and they still wound up putting up some points when they needed to. And honestly, I think that Tom Brady's errant throws and, lacking of wanting to get hit had a lot of factors. He threw a lot of balls away. He had some intentional grounding issues that I think that's actually something that a lot of teams had, some intentional grounding. I think they're actually starting to crack down on that. But for the most part. I think that Tom Brady benefited a lot from New England's system. New England never dealt with onside kicks and not being able to recover them. New England didn't have to deal with false starts every other drive that ended up being taken. Drew Brees and the gang, you've seen them enough times. You know what they like to do on 4th and 2. They're not going for it. They're trying to draw you off sides. They drew them off sides like twice on the same drive, back-to-back plays. How do you do that? They're an undisciplined team. They always were an undisciplined team last year. And honestly, I think it's time we need to apologize to Mr. Winston for this instance here. Because someone put out an interesting stat because of Janoris Jenkins' pick 6. And if you look at if you go through all the times they used the same play from last year and this one included, that pass has been intercepted on, I believe, 6 times. Or it has not worked and they've used it 6 times. And there was a pick 6 on it from Jameis and also now from Tom Brady. So maybe it's just some plays just weren't working. Maybe it wasn't all Jameis. Maybe some things structurally was not all the way there. I'm ready to fully overreact and say that Tampa Bay, Tom Brady's washed and the team is who we didn't think they were, which was a team ready to go all in on the Super Bowl when a culture of winning was never established there in the first place. And now we're seeing that happen for first and foremost, and thinking that they were just going to crown the NFC South without even establishing themselves in the first place was foolish. And I'm glad the Saints showed up and did what they needed to do despite having a pretty pedestrian offensive performance all across the board. If you're going to come into the NFC South, you're going to have to earn it every week. And that's something that both of us have said. The NFC South is no cupcake game, right? The NFC South is one of the more competent divisions in the NFL and one of the most competitive divisions year in and year out. No more Miami, no more Jets, no more Bills, no Bill Belichick. Get ready, Mr. Tom, because you're going to have to go earn it this time for real. So, yeah.
Yep. I definitely felt that, man. In my next overreaction, actually, it's not even an overreaction. It's not. We're not giving it enough of a reaction. I want to give a shout out to my boy over in Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew, baby, out there balling on the Colts on Sunday, leading Jacksonville to a win on a year everybody thought they were tanking. This man completed.
They still might be. let's not go that far. They still might be tanking.
Well, listen, he completed 19 of 20 passes and 3 touchdowns against a good Colts defense, might add. They got players. And he basically just sliced them up and played efficient football. Remember, I told you before the year, I thought, they're setting him up to fail. I like him. You know what I'm saying? I feel like Gardner can play. He went 6-6 with that roster last year. So he can play. But I felt like that they weren't putting him in a position to succeed. And the fact that he did that on Sunday with the guys that they have means I feel like Jacksonville will be much more competitive in games.
Mm-hmm.
I know you talked about which team. I think you said, which team was it? The Bears. The Bears might play themselves out of, the contest for the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. Jacksonville might play themselves out of it if they win enough games. Now, listen, listen, I'm not expecting them to have a winning season. That's not what I'm saying. But think about it. A lot of people are expecting Jacksonville to win 2 games, maybe 3 games. I think Jacksonville can maybe win 6 or 7. I think that's that's exceeding expectations. And if Gardner Minshew continues to look good, if they still want to move on from him, he will have plenty of people, I think, that would love to actually bring Gardner Minshew in and potentially be another starting quarterback of that team. So this actually could be an audition year for Gardner Minshew for other teams around the league. And if he continues to play like he has played, you better watch out. Gardner Minshew is going to be a face one day.
Well, maybe. He might be one of those stories where, people kind of didn't think he would be something, and, he kind of became like an urban legend in his first season. And now, first game, he looks solid, man. Once again, Phillip Rivers did not look good. Phillip Rivers looked like Phillip Rivers from last year, and I think a lot of people just thought that it was going to be a better time. And I was kind of worried that this would be another situation where, you know, the name carried more than the skill. I wonder when we're going to see Jacoby Brissett. I wonder.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because when I like, you know, read some things and watched some things, a lot of people said that he actually played good. It's just he did Phillip Rivers things, which means he always has those stinkers, and those stinkers usually turn into turnovers, where it's like he could have 40 throws and 38 of them are good, but them 2 were pick sixes. And it is just like, oh boy. And so, yeah, if the Colts have a down year and Phillip Rivers is a turnover machine again, yeah, Jacoby's probably definitely going to hit the field. Well, actually, it's going to be interesting is we forget they drafted Jacob Eason. So
no, I'm not worried about that. I think Jacoby is second.
Just saying. You never know. He could be the future. Just saying.
No, I don't know. They still have Jacoby under contract. I think that, if they want to actually push the win, they probably looking at Jacoby before Jacob Eason. Another quick overreaction that I had, because I went kind of all in on the Cowboys for fantasy purposes. Got to sit here and say, man, I was not impressed by what I saw from Mike McCarthy's first stint as a Cowboys head coach. I wasn't too upset about the, you know, going for it on fourth, instead of going for the field goal to tie the game, because I think, you know, it was a gutsy play, and, you know, either you win it or you lose it. Like, that's just kind of is what it is. And not playing for the tie is a good sign. But at the same time, there is some stuff, like just play calling in general was not very great. And you could see from the very first instances on the offense that, you know, Dak was not very comfortable in where he was at. The pockets were kind of collapsing on him. Of course, Aaron Donald, the pound for pound might be the best player in football, was wreaking havoc all night for him, and he only had 3 rushes that whole game. 3 rushes for 30 yards. And if Dak can't get out there and, you know, use his legs, and you just limit to him as a pure passer, things can kind of get a little bit lost out there in translation. Zeke did look good, but I think Zeke will look good no matter who the coach is, because he's just that special. And, you know, the Cowboys offensive line, they are pretty familiar with how to block for Zeke. So, and Zeke will get his yards no matter what. But as far as the passing game that we expected to see, it was a little bit underwhelming, to say the least.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I mean, and I guess on the other side of things, I guess Jared Goff didn't play too bad. He played well enough. I think the Rams are going to go back to the team they were a couple of years ago, run first, play action team, because I think that's when Jared Goff thrives the most, because he's a guy who I think is a very accurate thrower. So I think you need to put him in a, you know, just tell him to make, you know, that one read and just be more precise with the offense, and he can make the plays. I think last year they were much more of a drop back pass 50 times team, and I don't think that's his strength. But if you tell this man, hey, hit a bunch of screens, hit a bunch of crossing routes, and then you get solid running like they did from their 3 running backs, the Rams could be at least back in playoff contention this year.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Rams looked pretty decent. They had a good first drive. And once they figure out their running back rotation, I think a lot of things can change. Keep in mind, though, they have no depth. So if somebody goes down, their season might derail. But for right now, they're all in. So they have no choice. They got to get into the playoffs. But let's keep in mind that division is looking really good right now.
Oh, yeah. We haven't even talked about Arizona.
Arizona looks really good. Kyler Murray looked really good yesterday. Of course, we know the Seahawks had a really big win, statement win. And, you know, I expect that the 49ers will find a way to bounce back from that loss and, you know, continue to look like the team that we've seen from last year. So it's not going to be any cakewalks in that division whatsoever. And you're going to have to go out there and earn it. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a couple, like some 9 and 7s in there and some teams that are really competing. So I think that's across the NFC in general. I don't think there's going to be a lot of bad teams in the NFC this year. I think a lot of teams are going to compete game in, game out. So this is going to be a really big earn it year for the NFL and the NFC as far as I've seen.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, out of all the divisions, outside the NFC North, I think Green Bay's going to run away with it. Something tells me they're going to run away with that division.
I wasn't so sure at first, and now after another overreaction, yeah, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers looked really good.
Yeah, and then the running game, and then the defense played pretty decent. They had some points late, but played decent for most of the game. I mean, outside of that, who's the competition? Outside of Minnesota, who's really competition? I mean, yeah, Bears won, but are we really expecting them to compete for a division title? It's kind of like, yeah, Packers probably going to get another 13-3 season, make it to the playoffs, and we'll have to see what happens.
Basically, but we're going to have to move on, man. We're going to take another break, and we're going to finish out the podcast talking about rookie reports, man, rookie rankings. What are our rookies doing this year? GSMC.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts. Past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, Brice, we're back trying to finish up the podcast, and we got to talk about rookies, man. There's a lot of good things to see from different rookies in week one, and I gotta say, the first one that comes off to my mind before we start actually putting them in some rankings, what are we seeing from the top 5? I think I saw a lot of good things from the guys who went in the first few selections. What do you think? Because I thought Burrow's performance, although he didn't stuff the stat sheet, I just thought that as far as command of an offense, and basically it looked like the team bought into him. I think the team believes in Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow looks as confident as he did in LSU in that last year. And if it weren't for the fact that the drive got called back for a touchdown, like the touchdown got called back, he wins that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joe Burrow might be who we think he is.
Yeah. I mean, he played well. I watched him in that game. He played very well with command. That game was kind of like it kind of felt slow to me. Like, not in terms of time of possession, but just both teams really weren't. It felt like the offenses were behind those games to me a little bit. And so that's why you didn't really see explosive offensive performances or anything like that. But for the most part, from Burrow, he played pretty well. He made, obviously, a rookie mistake with that. He tried to shovel it, got picked off, which ended the drive. But for the most part, he played well. He brought them back down the field right after that. He looks like, especially with, I always talk about the Bengals have weapons. Joe Mix is a 1,000-yard running back. AJ Green played well in his comeback. He looks like he can, if he can go back to being number one receiver, AJ Green, he has a stud at receiver, plus Boyd and the rest of the gang. I mean, Burrow he may not have it from a record win-loss perspective, but from a stat perspective, if the offense continues to pick up, obviously, remember, he's only had 1 month to really work with the guys. Throughout the season, you might see this offense be turning out a little bit more production and his Burrow's numbers going and getting higher. And that could really look good as that gives you good insight into next year when he takes that next step and thinking, okay, he can make that next step and be the franchise guy. But yeah, he looked really good.
No, yeah, for sure. I agree wholeheartedly. And I've been saying, I remember earlier before the season started, before we even thought we had a season, if anything, I thought that, the Bengals weren't as bad as they showed us last year. I think there was some tanking involved. There was some, purposely losing at times sort of thing. Their defense still isn't the greatest, right? Their defense is not the greatest. They gave up, 21 points to, Tyrod Taylor. Granted, the Chargers have a lot of weapons, but, their defense does need to improve. But as far as their weapons, they've had offensive weapons all this time. It just hasn't always clicked. And, Andy Dalton wasn't the guy that I guess they wanted to continue with, of course. And that seems to be mitigated to a degree. It looks like they have themselves a guy who's charismatic, a guy they can get behind, and a guy they want to go out and win with. And that can make all the difference in the world. And they have a head coach in Zach Taylor. I believe that's his name. He's an offensive minded head coach. He might be able to get some things out of there that you wouldn't have been able to with Andy Dalton at the helm. But moving on to another rookie, Chase Young, the second overall pick. What a game. When you want to talk about a guy that instantly came on the field and you felt his impact, that's the guy. And it makes sense why people, before the draft, people were saying that he might, we talk about the Bosa brothers both coming out of Ohio State and which one's better. And people said, we talk about the Bosa brothers, but the one who might be the best one is Chase Young. And I see why now. Because Chase Young literally was a menace. And granted, the offensive line was not in great shape for the Eagles, but you only can control who you play in front of. And Chase Young definitely had some moments in that game that was like, whoa, this guy. What do you think, Brice?
Yeah, he played great. He played the way he was supposed to. And I think, have you ever noticed that sometimes great pass rushers stand out with other great pass rushers, if that makes sense? Like, I feel like when you only have that one guy, it's easy to say, well, he may not be as good as you think. But it feels like even with all the guys they have, like people forget about like Ryan Kerrigan and all them, he still stood out and was like, yeah, that guy, he's going to be that guy. And everybody's been saying that all through his time at Ohio State. Now doing it in Washington, already had a sack and a half. I mean, if he continues at this, I think he's possible to even get a sack a game. That'd be 16 sacks. So, he definitely is going to make some things happen. And with him probably going to get one-on-one matchups especially, I think Chase Young's going to have a big year and might win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
No, yeah. So that's the thing. He might be the front runner for Defensive Rookie of the Year right now, for sure. And it looks really good. He looks to be what he is on paper. And that's got to be something that I'm sure Washington is ready to, tap into later on. Of course, their defense across the board is really good. So, Landon Collins is a stud and Ryan Kerrigan is a stud. We know about this sort of stuff. They have great players across the board on that defense that really know how to get after it. But Chase Young, 2 solo tackles, a sack and a half and a tackle and a half for loss, 2 quarterback hits. That's a big time impact for a rookie right there. So, next rookie that we got to talk about is there was one in Dallas, like the 2 receivers, of course. One has yet to play, but, of course, CeeDee Lamb in his debut looked pretty good, I would say. All things considered, he looked to be pretty impactful. He looked like he was out there. He looked like the most athletic guy on the field. And, instantly you felt like he brought something different to the table that maybe Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup don't bring. So that's something to be mindful of, I think. And how did you feel about watching Jerry Jeudy?
Well, when we're speaking about CD, since he obviously was the big glamour pick for the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Jerry Jeudy, but I meant to say Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, you did. But yeah, he was a big glamour pick for Dallas Cowboys. I think he played well. Henry, that was a high scoring game in Oakland. So Henry obviously had his chances to really go out there and play and make big plays, which, if the Raiders are able to keep scoring like that, you would think Henry Ruggs would probably pick up or put up some big numbers, In this game, he had a pretty average game. He only had 5 targets, 3 for 55 yards, but averaged 18 yards a catch. And I think that's what they're going to primarily use Henry Ruggs as. This is a big kind of a chunk guy, a big play guy, because that's the type of potential that you see with him is he's a big play guy. Both him and CD are big play guys. And so if they remotely can do that for their respective teams, I think both of them will be pretty solid. You know, I think there could be a lot of competition this year for Offensive Rookie of the Year, because I feel there's a lot of rookies on the offensive side of the ball who can make an impact, and because of the position that they're being put in, as they're kind of being, you know, called upon as main parts of the offense.
Right. And real quickly, how did you feel? I mean, of course, the Clyde Edwards-Helaire from Thursday night was spectacular. He probably is number one ranked in the rookie rankings right now for Offensive Player of the Year for the AFC. But what about another rookie in J.K. Dobbins? He got into the end zone twice on Sunday for the Baltimore Ravens. He didn't have a lot of yardage, but you know, Baltimore has a lot of guys who can get out there and run the football. Like, of course, Lamar Jackson, he had 7 carries for 45. Mark Ingram had 10 carries for 29, but J.K. had 7 carries in his own right, only for 22 yards, but he got the 2 scores in. Overall, what do you think of, if you had to rank the rookies and their performances and what they've shown you so far, what do you think the power rankings for the rookies are?
Okay, so I think at number 1 it'll be Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Okay.
At number 2, I'm going to go ahead and go with Burrow at 2, and then 3 I'll go with CD. Are you talking about like offense or entirely?
Just entirely.
Oh, my bad. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'll go number 1 Clyde Edwards. Number 2 I'll go Chase Young.
Okay.
And then number 3 I'll go Joe. And then number 4, I guess I'll go with CD Lamb. And you know what? Number 5, I'm going to go with, this is a guy we haven't talked about. The 4th round pick from Kansas City. He played a great game on Thursday against the Houston Texans. He had an interception and he basically shut down Brandon Cooks. So I'll put him as my 5th on the rankings. Not a guy, big name, you know, not a lot of people know about him, but definitely a guy that you need to watch out for, because if he continues to play like that, Kansas City might have gotten them still at a shutdown corner coming out of the 4th round.
Okay. For myself, I think we're pretty similar. I think that off of week 1 performances go, at least, that Clyde Edwards-Helaire looked like the most ready player coming out of the draft besides Chase Young. So I go 1 and 2 for them. Chase Young being 2nd. I believe Joe Burrow is 3rd. And, you know, honestly, Joe Burrow could have been anywhere between 1st to 3rd, depending on how that game went out. And in my opinion, he won the game. I didn't really enjoy the call from the ref, but they've been consistent with calling those push-offs now. As we saw, there was a push-off in the Dallas game as well. And, you know, there was a push-off in the Super Bowl too that they called. That was kind of a little ticky-tack, kind of foul sort of situation going on. So, you know, the refs are consistent with calling stuff. I don't have an issue with it, but, you know, that's the biggest thing. Refs aren't always, you know, consistent. But yeah, I'm going to have to go with Burrow for 3. And I think that Ruggs looked really nice. Ruggs had some things going on. I'm going to go 4 there, and then CeeDee Lamb 5th. And then, I gotta say, I'm looking forward to see what a guy like Cam Akers can do. Not only just for fantasy purposes because I have him on my team, but just because I think the stats didn't do him justice. We can clearly see that Malcolm Brown is their end zone guy, their red zone target guy. But, when Cam Akers in the game, he looked pretty solid. He looked like a guy who had a lot of energy, and he played his first game in the NFL, like in prime time in LA. That's going to have some jitters out there, but he looked kind of like a guy that can do some things.
Quick question. Have you watched the game? What did you think about the Rams new stadium?
Oh, it looks gorgeous. It's incredible, honestly. Like, when COVID is over, people are going to pay big money to go to that stadium because it looks incredible. Like the water and all that stuff. Like, wow. Looks like a resort. Looks like Disney World.
It's like its own little world when you step in there.
Right. I can't wait to see the Raiders new stadium.
Y'all play them Monday night. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, hopefully that's a 2-0 situation there, but I'm afraid of Josh Jacobs with a passion.
Josh. I mean, listen, I think y'all guys got it. Obviously, we have to see if Michael won't be ready, but I think he'll be ready.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think if there's any reason to rest him or any game to rest him, it'd probably be this one. There's no division game rivalry. There's no division game sort of situation where you might need this win. So not to say you don't need every win, but this might be a game where you kind of lay it down and hope for the best and let him rest up because, you know, he does predicate on his route running and doing his quick cuts with his ankles and digging into the ground and the turf. And if he can't do that, then Michael Thomas might be really limited in what he's able of doing. But yeah, man, football is back. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to continue on doing this. But we're going to wrap it up here for the GSMC football podcast for this week. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the pod. And we'll be back next week to talk about all the great things that's happening in week 2. At least for us being a duo. I'm sure Brice will be back earlier in the week. And we'll keep it pushing, man. Don't forget to follow us on social media, GSMC Football, for all your football updates. And you can come tweet at us, ask us questions, or whatever the case may be, man. But for Brice, this is Ethan, and we'll see you all next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.